All right. Hey, what's up, guys? So there's been a lot of rumors about who Conor McGregor will face in his comeback fight, and we're here to discuss it. So right now there is bubblings of Conor possibly getting a title shot coming for his return fight, and yeah, what do you guys think about that? That seems like a pretty crazy thing that could happen.
So I actually think it's probably going to happen because I think the news story was for our viewers listening. Islam Makhachev challenged RDA. That fight fell through, and they seem to be rebooking Beneil Dariush versus Islam Makhachev, and Beneil's injured. So I could see this as a way for Dana to essentially give Conor the title, or give him a shot at the title before Islam comes up.
I was gonna say, in like a perfect world for everybody, Oliveira beats Gaethje, Conor gets the title shot, and then for the UFC and for Islam, would it not be the best if he were to win the title from McGregor?
Yeah, of course.
Like
I
that
think
would then give him
That would
like
set up.
the.
That would also set up Conor versus Islam, and you could be like, that's
But
that's
that's
like
that's
Conor
my
could beat
point. Like
too.
if they give Conor the title shot and he beats Oliveira, and if Conor comes back to like any semblance of like the person he was when he fought Warrior the second time, he can beat He can. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he should be a favorite, but he can beat Oliveira. And would that not make Islam a huge star? Because Islam's gonna get the title shot next after that for sure. Like, and he will Islam will beat Conor if they fight. Like that would make Islam a. I mean, that's the best way. That's the best thing to happen to Islam.
Yeah, personally, I would still be really shocked if Conor gets the title shot on his return. I know he's Conor and he can draw like no other, but I just feel like there's like just the idea of him getting a title shot, like that might not even be the biggest fight for Conor in his return. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the Diaz 3 fight is still out there, and that could possibly be a bigger draw. And then you have
Definitely.
also other good fights like Ferguson, Chandler, stuff like that. I think those are good fights too. I don't see the point in giving him a title shot.
I mean, the point is Conor wants the title shot, and Conor makes a shitload of money for the promotion. So
Yeah, I think the title shot is that I think I agree. Diaz could definitely be a bigger draw than him. Um, when it comes to Connor versus Charles, maybe the thinking is that you give Charles that rub, or maybe this is Connor's last chance at a title shot. Because I mean, realistically, I don't know if he could beat. He can't beat Islam, and Justin Gaethje. I question if he could beat him. Charles, I know he could beat Charles.
Can he though? I feel like we're disrespecting Charles a little bit here because
no, we're not. Like Charles. Okay, so like just
I
based
don't
on
think
Conor,
I don't think Conor could beat Charles.
Charles gets his bell rung in the first round of every fight. Like I like the guy. He's super fun to watch. He doesn't move his head.
Okay,
Like he
but
doesn't move his head, and he walks forward a lot. Like that's a recipe for disaster against someone like Conor. Like obviously, if he gets Conor's back, the fight's over. If he gets Conor past half guard, the fight's over. But like
so
getting there is not the easy thing in the world.
so then my question is, why isn't Justin Gaethje a better matchup for Conor? Because Justin Gaethje won't even entertain the ground game. He also gets hit in the first round. He just wants to stand there and bang. And wouldn't that ideally be someone Conor wants to fight other than Oliveira?
Before 2021 happened, I would have agreed with you. Even just comparatively, like look how many times Gaethje kicked Poirier and he kept going, and look how many times Poirier, who doesn't kick as hard as Gaethje, kicked Conor. Like Conor can't stand with Gaethje for a long time.
Okay, but I mean, Oliveira can kick his legs. It's not like Oliveira doesn't have leg kicks. And if we're assuming
Do
this is
not
like a
compare Oliveira's leg kicks to Gaethje's. That's disrespectful to Gaethje. Gaethje has some of the nastiest leg kicks we've ever seen.
yeah, but then we're also talking about Conor post leg break. Like, what if that leg is just like really bad no matter what? Like it's just not going to take like Gaethje leg kick to fuck it up.
My point is Gaethje. Then Gaethje's a much worse person to go against because Gaethje will. Like Oliveira's not going to come. Like Oliveira's not going to come. Like Oliveira's not a great leg kicker. Like Conor could probably even if okay. So let's say Conor. There's two situations, right? Conor's leg is fine. He's going to be able to take more leg kicks from Charlie than Justin. Or B, Conor's leg is compromised. He's still going to be able to take more leg kicks from Charlie than Justin.
Well, my point is like if his leg's compromised, he's not going to be able to take leg kicks. Period. So like, who does it matter if it's like a really hard leg kick or a leg kick from Charlie? Like, they're both fucking up.
But like, he took like 10 fucking leg kicks from Poirier before it gave out. Like, if he could, what if he can? He's only gonna be able to take fucking 3 from Gaethje. Like, he's not gonna be able to take a lot of leg kicks from Gaethje. Like, Oliveira does not kick anywhere near as hard as Justin does.
I don't remember Charles really kicking legs. Is this a thing?
No, he's not like he doesn't really do it. Like, he once in a blue moon, but he's not a leg kicker.
Yeah, I know him as a teep person. You know.
Yeah, he was like a forward moving striker, like teeps those front face kicks.
If he had legs kicks, I would favor Conor because you have to get pretty decently close, and then when you go on the back leg, if you go far leg, that just brings his head back
You
forward.
open yourself up to a straight. It's just like Gaethje's. I would like a year and a half ago, I would have been like Conor's a pretty good matchup for Gaethje because Gaethje gets hit a lot and fights like a retard. But after seeing like that Conor's legs really can't handle getting kicked in him much, like no, Gaethje would be really bad.
Well, I think both matchups are really bad. That's the thing where I just don't really understand giving Conor a title shot because I think he's going to get destroyed no matter what. And
I mean, that's the thing though. Oliveira is the most winnable fight in like the top 5 for him. Like, he's not going to be like, we've seen him fight Dustin twice. Like, it didn't go well. He's not going to be Gaethje. He's not going to be fucking Islam. Beneil is, but like Beneil doesn't have that. The thing is, like, the big thing that Charles has is like Charles always gets his fucking bell rung in the first round, and Conor is a first round fighter. Like, there's a really good chance Conor could just go out there and starch his ass.
When has Oliveira ever been starched?
That's a fantastic point. He has a good chin.
He has good recovery, and he has a lot of heart. He stays in fights. He's got a ton of heart.
When was the last time Conor starched someone?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand this notion that Charlie, like, that Conor has a chance against Charlie. I just don't see it. Like,
I mean, he definitely has a chance against Charlie.
Yeah.
Like, look at Charlie's last 2 fights. Like, Poirier and Chandler both had him like hurt badly. Like, if Chandler would have got up and just made Charlie stand back up, we all agree that Chandler would have had a chance to finish him right there or back on the feet. Like,
yeah, but Chandler's a lot more.
Charlie gets hurt a lot. Charlie gets hurt a lot, and with Conor, it only takes 1.
Does it though? At lightweight? Does it though?
Maybe.
Well, I think
when you consider the only 2 people he's fought at lightweight have undeniably much better chins than Charlie, it's hard to say.
I think what Dermer and I are trying to say, I think he said it earlier, Oliveira is the most winnable, and Charles would obviously be the favorite, but do I see a universe where he just kind of punches Charles and he knocks him out? Also consider, maybe, I don't know if this will influence anything, but he was also a 145er too, and he thinks he could cut back down, so I think it's a very winnable fight for him. Not the favorite, probably minus 200 for Charles, to be honest, if I had to put
I'm thinking like minus 180 for Charles. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, like Charles is definitely the favorite, but like Conor and Gaethje, like Gaethje's a minus 250 against Conor, and you can't tell me otherwise. Like Gaethje would fuck Conor up, and Islam is minus 500 against Conor. Like
100,000.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I just think it's I just think it's a bad move in general for Conor's career to have him come back to a title shot because I think it makes a lot more sense to give him sort of like a quote unquote tune-up fight that is still a draw. Like, I don't understand why.
2 obvious ones, Diaz and Ferguson. It's crazy.
That's what I mean. It doesn't really make sense to me to give him a title shot on the comeback. Just give him Diaz 3. Like, get that trilogy out of the way. Everybody wants to see it. It's going to be a draw.
And that's the thing. If he can't beat Diaz, and if he can't beat Diaz, he's not going to beat Charlie Allos.
Yeah, and it's also gonna build up the title fight a lot more. Like, let's say, okay, he beats Diaz. All right, now it's like a lot more sellable to give him a title shot. He's coming off a win. It's just weird to me to think of him coming back and getting.
We have to consider the fact that if Conor does all this shit with like a Diaz fight, maybe a Ferguson, maybe another Poirier fight, whatever the fuck, by the time he finishes that, Islam will be the champion, which means. I mean, that's probably not on Conor's mind because Conor's actually, Conor, he's so confident. He thinks he'll beat it. He thinks he'll beat Islam and Khabib on the same night. If you ask him, so.
In regards to, I guess, Ferguson or Diaz, because I think we're probably gonna focus on these two for a little bit. Who's the better matchup for Conor to come back to? And allegedly Ferguson versus Chandler is booked, but we're gonna kind of put that to the side.
I don't know. Okay, so I think Diaz is probably better. Okay, so this is the thing. Like with Ferguson, he's washed. He's washed. There's no cap. He is washed. He can't stand with anybody. He can't stand with Conor. But is his grappling washed? Like we don't know. We saw him get dominated by Beneil, who's like, Beneil's a way better grappler than Conor. Beneil would do the same thing to Conor if they grappled, and we saw him get dominated by Oliveira, who's an incredible grappler. I don't know. Like Ferguson's more of an unknown. Like, what if Ferguson takes Conor down, or just keeps diving in his legs and Imanari rolls and all this crazy shit? Like, what if he does that? Like Diaz, he's gonna stand and trade with him, and he's gonna stand and they're gonna kickbox for 25 minutes, and we'll see what the fuck happens. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree with Dermer.
Diaz is more of a known commodity, even though I think Ferguson is definitely more washed than Diaz. Diaz, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a stand-up affair with a fucking tall Mexican zombie who's going to eat all your punches and keep coming at you. Where Ferguson, he can't stand with you, but like, how exactly will he go about that? It's just different.
Yeah, I agree with Dermer. I I don't think Ferguson is necessarily as washed as Dermer would think. I just think there's a more unknown with Ferguson. Also, like Diaz doesn't do any leg kicks. So in my stylistically, that's just a great fight to come back from. Like a guy who just boxes with Conor, all right, like that's gonna be fine for a comeback fight.
And it's also the biggest fight he could make. Like it's the biggest name. Unless Habib comes out of retirement, there's no bigger fight than Conor Diaz 3.
Yeah, I think the problem. I'll just echo what you guys said. I think Ferguson just walks through Conor, and then Conor won't get the Diaz fight, and then Ferguson gets a nice payday, but ultimately he lost to a wash Ferguson in the end there. And I don't even think it even has to go to the ground. I just think he'll drown Conor, who if he has to make a 155 cut again, I don't know if he'll ever return to that division. He's like buff now.
I think you're giving Tony, like the current Tony Ferguson, a lot too much credit. Like he cannot just pressure Conor like he does. He will be backing up the whole time.
No. He's been tweeting
He was
about McNuggets for too long right now.
he
To
was
like,
backing up against Beneil.
um,
Like the times they were on the feet together, he was not
we,
interested in getting hit by Beneil in the slightest, or Charlie
we
for that
can
matter.
worry about that later. We'll eventually do a Charles or a Tony versus Connor video, but Nate Diaz is again easier to fight. I worry that maybe Nate Diaz has grown into 170 a little bit too much. To me, I would actually favor him a little bit more in the Connor fight, to be honest.
But they could just
Um,
fight at 170.
yeah, exactly. But I worry that Nate Diaz has actually grown into 170, especially seeing him next to like Leon Edwards. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
he's
but Connor's thick now too. So
yeah. But when he fought against McGregor, wasn't he at 155? And then he just, you know,
Yeah,
what?
it was too close for him to cut down to 155. So they just did 170.
Yeah, but like he wasn't actually an active 170 or like he is now.
No, he definitely had some weight on Connor, but like he's definitely bigger now than he was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's why I don't think either fight favors Connor, but we're talking
But
pure
then again, so
money.
is Connor. Connor is much bigger now than he was 6 years ago too. So
The problem is that Connor's style, it becomes worse when he gets bigger, doesn't it?
yeah, I would agree with that. Because Connor's style is about like footwork and quickness and stuff, right? Doesn't necessarily.
I mean, it was. Now he kind of just punches you in the face.
Well, I don't think but he wasn't a brawler though either, you know. And he kind of has a brawler physique. So, I don't favor him in this. But is there anybody
I mean,
else?
I would favor him against Diaz and Ferguson. Pretty much nobody else.
I
I have to see him back. That's more of an indictment on. I just think he's. I mean, Diaz is a good stylistic matchup for him at this stage in his career, and I think Ferguson's like super washed. So
I would pick Ferguson over Connor.
Mhm.
I would probably pick Diaz over Connor too, just because of the injury. And even without the injury, I mean, who the fuck knows? I think it's
Yeah,
close by the way.
if size was a problem, if size, quote unquote, was a problem, years ago, now that Diaz actually has size, and he has athletic size, Conor has bodybuilder size, which is a little different. But I think there is one very winnable matchup for Conman McGregor that we haven't considered. What about the blessed one, Max Holloway?
Are you high?
No, Max would take this fight. We know it.
No. Are you high? Isn't the fact that you think that Nate Diaz and Tony Ferguson would both beat Conor now, but Max Holloway is a winnable fight for him?
No, we're talking about Conor McGregor coming back to what type of fight he
Yes.
would.
Max Holloway would beat the shit out of Conor McGregor. That's not winnable at all. Connor gets destroyed by Max.
Really? I'm actually a little surprised.
No, Connor gets destroyed. That's not even close.
I think
The
Max.
first 2 rounds are close, and then Max literally beats him like a drum until the end of the fight.
I could see
No.
Conor.
No. The thing you think that Tony would do to Connor is exactly what Max would actually do to Connor.
I think that Conor, especially buff Conor now, against Max, who's probably not going to have a lot of time to actually get into the weight class. I could see him knocking out Max. I know we put him SS tier, but it has to
Yeah.
come sooner or later.
Now that's a cold take.
That's a cold stare. No. You like exactly what you described that Ferguson could do to Connor is what Max would actually do to Connor because Max has the skill to actually do that now where Tony doesn't.
Max is a
Like,
145
Max-
going against like 185 Conor.
Max ate every shot for 5 rounds from 155 Poirier.
Yeah, now he's fighting 185 Conor McGregor.
Max is taking bombs from everybody. Max fought 145 Conor.
I don't think he could beat Jared Cannonier.
Max is the only person Conor didn't knock out at 145.
I just think that Conor's too big now. And
No,
like,
Max literally beats the shit out of him.
no, because and hear me out. I think I've explained this, but McGregor would give him 3 months notice because that's the way he works. Max would be game as fuck because that's who he is. He would say, "Let's have this at 170, Max boy, or 175, whatever." Max would be like, "Bet," and then let's do this in Hawaii, Max boy. He's like, "Bet again," and then he fights him, and then Max is just too small.
No, Max beats up Conor.
What do you think? You've been a little quiet, Josh.
I think Max probably finishes him. Just because
of
I
the
think
3 fights we named, is Max not the least winnable?
yeah, probably. Just because I if he doesn't knock out Max, which maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But if he doesn't knock him out, like Max is gonna drown him. Like kind of like what you said, like Ferguson's gonna drown him. Like Max would actually drown him.
Well,
Yeah,
way worse. Like Ferguson wouldn't. Ferguson doesn't drown you like Max does.
Well, do you think he would drown him at 170 though? Like a Max Holloway 145 till 170 McGregor?
I mean, Max Holloway is a big motherfucker. Like, if Max Holloway had 3 months to adjust and put on weight and not cut a little bit of weight, he'd only be going in like 10 pounds less than Conor. And like Max's cardio and chin is not a joke.
Yeah, I mean, like you could argue that like we're saying, right? Conor's buff now. Like he's a big boy, and it's like bodybuilder weight, so that's only gonna gas him out even more. And then
No, like Max beats Conor really badly. Like just he's too much cardio, too good of a chin. Like there's nothing Conor can do. What does Conor do? What does Conor do? Punch Max in the face? Okay, eventually Conor's gonna get tired, and Max isn't gonna get tired, and then Max is gonna start beating the shit out of him.
So hear me out. I think Conor is a harder puncher than Dustin, right?
Yes.
yeah,
Also, Max blocks punches with his face. And so if we have
Max
170
is unreasonably hard.
and if we had 170 plus Conor punch him in the face really hard, I think that he could probably knock him out.
Have we not seen everything else punch Max? Like what? Like at what point does what the fuck? Like what? Come on, he's never been knocked
I'm
down.
just using physics here. Like, do you think Jared Cannonier could knock out Max?
Honestly, I don't know.
What?
At this point?
okay, come on, you're being ridiculous. You're being ridiculous.
I might be overestimating his size now, but I could see Conor as a middleweight.
No, what?
No.
All
You're
that muscle.
insane.
No. Well, actually,
No.
but you actually kind of convinced me a little bit because we did see Dustin he had Max in trouble. Let's be real. He had Max in serious trouble at 155. So we're talking about 170 Conor, big boy Conor with big boy power. Yeah, maybe he does light up Max. Maybe he does.
They're not going to fight at 170.
Well, they're gonna. Well, no, they would, because Conor can name the terms. Do you think Max is gonna deny it?
Yeah.
I don't think Conor would want to fight Max at 170. It's kind of fucking retarded.
Well, no, that's a tune-up fight. Max, he can name his terms. He'll say 170. We do it in Hawaii, and I'm sure Max would love that.
I don't think Conor would want to fight Max at 170.
No, he would. He would. You know, I mean, Max has talked about going up to heavyweight to fight DC. So
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
that's the thing, though. I think maybe it's just like the Hawaiian blood that makes Hawaiian fighters super game. Because I mean, BJ Penn was fucking fighting Lyoto Machida. He had no business fighting.
True. Yeah, I do. I really do. Like, if they were like, Max, we want you to fight Jared Cannonier, he would.
Jared Cannonier would knock him the fuck out. Let's be real.
he would.
Maybe.
So, yeah, I think. Plus, do you think Conor would say, in 1 year times max, when you built up enough muscle to fight equally, we'll fight? He'll probably like, no, 3 months notice at most.
I mean, Conor's not going to fight Max in the first place, and if he does, Max is going to beat.
I think that's a reasonable tune-up fight. He's talked about him in the past, you know.
No, it's not a reasonable tune-up fight. Why would you fight? Okay, why won't you just fight Tony Ferguson, who's like the worst version of Max Holloway right now?
I think it's just the size difference. That's all.
Fuck the size difference, man. Just fight the fucking guy who walks backwards against Charles Oliveira. Like, don't fight the guy who will walk towards you for 5 straight rounds and punch you.
That's what Max does.
Don't fight the guy who throws 100-something punches in the 5th round. Like,
Let's
when
put
you're
it
not.
this way: if Yair Rodriguez could like pressure him, Max, at the point where Max wrestled him, I mean, Conor's good to go.
You're giving like no respect to Max Holloway and way too much.
I think he's too small to buff boy Conor. Is all.
All right. Anyways, do we have any other potential matchups for Conor or
RDA?
RDA.
RDA beats him.
No point.
RDA beats Conor. RDA beats Conor.
But that's a terrible matchup because like it's boring. RDA wrestles Conor, and that's how it goes. Like,
but there's a story too. You know?
There's a story. Yeah, it was like the title fight that never should have happened, or that never happened.
Yeah, but it's also stupid because RDA's A, not a big draw. B, he's gonna try and wrestle with Conor. So
RDA is also kind of old though. And again, Conor's pride. I could see him.
Conor could win. Conor could knock RDA out, but like, let's be like realistically speaking, RDA probably will wrestle fuck Conor for a vast majority of the fight. So like, it's a dumb matchup.
Well, no, RDA is a pretty good grappler, but I don't know. Like, the only person I remember him wrestling recently was Paul Felder, and Paul Felder is horrible at defending it. Conor's pretty good takedown defense, you know.
Yeah, but
Conor, the thing is, RDA has an iron chin, and he weaponizes.
RDA is hard to finish.
He weaponizes pace, and that just has a proven success record against Conor. It's a bad matchup for Conor, I think.
That's fair.
If this was like 6 years ago, we'd be having a different conversation. But like right now, like at this stage in Conor's career, when he doesn't have like that fucking. Back when he still had like that left hand that was like knocking everybody the fuck out, like it was a little bit different, but.
Yeah. So who do we think?
Who
do we think Conor should fight in his return fight?
Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz.
I agree with that. I think Diaz 3 is probably at 155 or 170.
70.
I think at 155. I think Diaz 3. I think it does matter because have it at 175 at 155 so that if Conor wins, it builds up to that title shot.
That's a good point. Yeah, having it at 155 kind of like, but even then, like you could just like, who cares? You could still build to a 155 title shot.
Yeah, but that's not logical.
That's like, yeah. Oh no, UFC isn't logical to sell pay-per-views. Shocker.
Also, I mean, Conor has like openly expressed that he wants the trilogy in 155.
He could change his mind.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, my vote is Diaz 3 at 155 though.
I'll agree with that. I'd rather see it at lightweight, but I don't think it would really matter if it was contested at welterweight instead, you know.
I think if it is, it's going to be a welterweight. I think him versus Tony makes the most sense for actually getting a title shot. I also don't think Diaz will take it at 155, to be honest.
It's possible.
Because like he's a bigger boy now. They're both bigger boys. And you've seen how hard he negotiated in the last fight. He was like, "No, I'm not doing this here," because he kind of had the whatever. So after
Oh,
he gets,
actually, one thing that kind of leads me to think that it will be Diaz 3 is that so wasn't Diaz and Poirier supposed to fight? And then it seemed to me like Diaz and Poirier both wanted to fight, and then like the UFC kind of shut it down. And I think it's because it was Diaz's last fight on his contract, which leads me to think that they just want to save him for Conor 3.
I could buy that happening. I just think that, well, I don't agree with it. I agree this makes sense if it's Nate Connor 3. I just think 170 makes a little bit more sense considering how Diaz negotiates.